Ladies and gentlemen, the tighter a woman's pussy the more she is, and when I say that I know it jolts you because the words sound blunt, they sound raw, but sometimes it takes words that hit hard to make you stop and listen, because the truth here is not just about sex, it is about identity, it is about how a woman chooses to value herself, it is about how a woman chooses to protect her worth, it is about how she chooses to define what intimacy means to her and to the person who dares to enter that space. And when we use the word tightness, we are really talking about control, we are talking about power, we are talking about a woman who does not open herself to everyone, a woman who does not say yes when her heart says no, a woman who has boundaries, and when she honors those boundaries she becomes more because she is living on her own terms. She is not giving her body away as a transaction, she is making intimacy a reflection of trust, respect and truth, and that makes her presence deeper, her love stronger, her spirit brighter and her energy unforgettable, because a woman who knows her value never gets lost in the noise of the world. She stands grounded, and that makes her magnetic, and the more she is magnetic the more she is respected, and the more she is respected the more she is loved and seen. And when intimacy happens with her, it is not casual, it is not shallow, it is not forgettable, it is powerful because she chose it with intention. And when you realize this, you begin to understand that the body and the soul are not separate, that what you give physically is tied to who you are emotionally and spiritually. And so when a woman holds herself tight, she is not being cold, she is being wise, she is saying my body is not something you just get, my body is a temple, my energy is sacred, my love is earned and not demanded. And in that decision she becomes more, because she is no longer shrinking herself for approval, she is no longer bending herself to please someone, she is no longer defining her worth by how many people desire her, she defines her worth by how deeply she values herself. And when she does that, everything changes, the way she walks, the way she speaks, the way she loves, the way she dreams, everything becomes sharper, everything becomes more radiant, everything becomes stronger. And this is what people feel even if they cannot explain it. They sense her strength, they sense her worth, they sense her power, and that makes them approach her differently, it makes them respect her differently, it makes them love her differently. And the truth is, this is not a call for perfection, this is not about comparing one woman to another, this is about understanding that the more you honor yourself, the more you protect your energy, the more you hold your space sacred, the more you are, because you are no longer living small, you are living full, you are no longer giving away your power, you are owning it, you are no longer waiting for someone to validate you, you are validating yourself, and that is the kind of strength that changes lives and relationships forever. The tighter a woman is, the more she values her own body and choices, and this is not simply about the way her body feels but about the way she chooses to honor herself, because when a woman places value on her body, she is declaring that she is not just here to be touched or used but to be respected and cherished. And when she carries that truth, she begins to live differently, she begins to see herself not as something that needs to be given away for approval but as something that already holds worth within it. She does not allow anyone to walk in and take without giving, she does not allow herself to be reduced to a moment, she makes her body a reflection of her decisions, and that is powerful, because in a world where so many women are told their worth comes from how wanted they are by others, the woman who knows she is valuable on her own terms stands taller and becomes stronger. She does not say yes out of fear of losing someone, she does not compromise what she feels in order to keep someone close, she chooses carefully, she chooses intentionally, and every choice she makes becomes a statement that her body is not for everyone, her body is not a tool for validation, her body is her home, her body is her power, and that choice changes everything. It changes how people approach her, it changes how people respect her, it changes how people love her, because she has already set the standard for herself, and once that standard is set, the world has no choice but to recognize it. The tighter a woman is, the more her choices become meaningful, the more her relationships become purposeful, the more her intimacy becomes sacred, and in that sacredness there is depth, there is passion, there is truth, and that is why valuing her body and choices makes her more, because she is not fragmented, she is whole, she is not lost in trying to be everything for everyone, she is centered in being everything for herself and for the one who proves they deserve her. She is not rushed, she is not careless, she is not desperate, she is deliberate, she is present, she is powerful, and the world cannot help but notice, because the energy of a woman who values herself is undeniable. It is the kind of energy that shifts a room, it is the kind of energy that commands respect without saying a word, it is the kind of energy that makes intimacy unforgettable, because it is built on choice, not on chance, and that choice is what makes her magnetic, radiant and unstoppable. Tightness symbolizes boundaries, strength and control over her energy, and when a woman embraces this truth, she understands that her body is not only physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual, it is the place where her power lives, and the way she guards it reflects how much she knows her worth, because boundaries are not walls to keep people out, they are doors that she decides when and how to open. And when a woman has strong boundaries, she is not cold or distant, she is wise, she knows that not everyone deserves her energy, not everyone deserves her attention, not everyone deserves the intimacy that she carries within her, because intimacy is not something to be thrown away cheaply. It is an exchange of trust, of vulnerability, of spirit, and when she chooses to be tight in her boundaries, she is really choosing to be free from being drained by people who do not value her, free from being controlled by expectations that are not hers, free from being consumed by relationships that do not serve her, and that freedom makes her stronger because control over her energy means she decides where it goes, she decides who feels it, she decides who experiences her light, and in that decision she creates a life that feels aligned, that feels balanced, that feels safe, because her boundaries are not meant to punish, they are meant to protect. They protect her heart, they protect her body, they protect her spirit, and when those things are protected, she flourishes, she grows, she shines, because she is no longer leaking energy into places that do not deserve it. She is no longer giving time to people who waste it. She is no longer saying yes when everything inside her is screaming no. She is saying yes only when it feels true, only when it feels right, only when it feels aligned with who she is becoming, and that is the deepest form of strength, because strength is not about how much pain you can take, it is about how clearly you can say no to what diminishes you and yes to what empowers you. And when a woman stands in that strength, she becomes untouchable because her energy is no longer scattered, it is focused, it is intentional, it is magnetic, and people feel that energy. They sense that she cannot be manipulated, they sense that she cannot be broken, they sense that she cannot be convinced to betray herself, and that sense commands respect without her asking for it, because when a woman holds control over her body, her choices, and her energy, she is unshakable, she is powerful, she is radiant, she is whole. Expand. A woman who protects her intimacy becomes more magnetic and respected, because intimacy is not just about the physical connection, it is about the emotional and spiritual space that she opens when she allows someone close, and when she chooses to protect that space, she sends a powerful message about how valuable it is and how much she treasures herself, because a woman who does not give her intimacy freely is not doing it out of fear or shame, she is doing it out of recognition that intimacy is sacred, it is a gift, it is something that changes the energy between two people forever, and when it is treated carelessly, it loses its depth, it loses its meaning, it loses its power, but when it is guarded and shared only with those who prove themselves worthy, it carries a weight that cannot be denied, it becomes unforgettable, it becomes magnetic, it becomes a source of strength instead of a weakness, and that is why people respect a woman who protects her intimacy, because they see that she does not settle for less, they see that she does not allow herself to be treated like an option, they see that she values herself too much to give her love away to someone who will not honor it, and that respect grows because respect is not demanded, it is earned, and it is earned by showing the world through actions and choices that you know your worth, and when a woman does that, people cannot help but treat her differently, they cannot help but feel drawn to her energy, because she is rare, she is intentional, she is not easily impressed, she is not easily convinced, she is not desperate, she is patient, she is discerning, she is selective, and that makes her magnetic, because people are always drawn to what they cannot easily have, they are drawn to what feels special, they are drawn to what feels powerful, and when intimacy is protected, it becomes powerful because it is rare, it is valuable, it is meaningful, and that meaning deepens every connection she chooses to create, it makes the moments she shares more intense, more emotional, more lasting, and that intensity is what creates respect, because people respect what they cannot take for granted, they respect what they cannot consume without effort, they respect what they must rise to meet, and when a woman protects her intimacy, she forces the world to rise to her standards, she forces her partner to rise to her worth, she forces everyone around her to treat her not as an object but as a person with depth and value, and in doing so she becomes more magnetic and more respected every single day. Intimacy with intention creates deeper love, connection, and power, because when two people come together without thought or meaning, the moment may satisfy briefly, but it does not last, it does not grow, it does not transform, and what separates shallow intimacy from meaningful intimacy is intention. Intention is the act of choosing to be fully present, choosing to give not just the body but the heart, the mind, the spirit, and when a woman embraces intimacy with intention, she is no longer simply responding to desire, she is creating an exchange built on respect and trust, she is saying that intimacy is not a game, it is not a transaction, it is not a way to fill emptiness, it is an expression of something real, and in that expression love becomes deeper because it is not rushed, it is not careless, it is not shallow, it is thoughtful, it is sacred, it is chosen, and when love is chosen in this way, it becomes unshakable because both people know that they are not just experiencing each other physically, they are experiencing each other emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and that depth is what creates the kind of bond that cannot be easily broken because it is not built on lust, it is built on trust, it is not built on on impulse, it is built on care, it is not built on taking, it is built on giving. And when intimacy carries that intention, the connection becomes more powerful. It is the kind of connection where both people feel safe to be vulnerable, safe to be seen, safe to be fully themselves, and that safety turns into strength, because when two people feel that depth, they lift each other higher, they inspire each other, they grow together, and that growth is where power lives. The power of knowing you are not alone, the power of knowing someone has chosen you fully, the power of knowing that intimacy is not about performance, it is about presence. And when presence is there, love does not just survive, it thrives, it becomes richer, it becomes fuller, it becomes the foundation on which everything else is built. And this is why intimacy with intention is so different from intimacy without it, because without intention it fades quickly, without intention it feels empty, without intention it loses meaning, but with intention it multiplies, it deepens, it empowers both people, and it creates something so rare that it cannot be easily replaced, because intentional intimacy is not something you stumble into, it is something you choose, it is something you nurture, it is something you honor, and in that choice love becomes deeper, connection becomes stronger, and power becomes inevitable. The more she honors herself, the more she becomes unstoppable, because honoring herself means she listens to her own voice before the noise of the world. It means she puts her own needs above the expectations placed on her. It means she decides that her worth is not measured by how much she gives away, but by how much she chooses to protect and nurture within herself. And when a woman reaches that place, she is no longer chasing validation, she is no longer shrinking herself to fit, she is no longer bending under the pressure to please everyone else. She stands firmly in who she is, and that is where her true power lives, because honoring herself is not just about saying no to what hurts her, it is about saying yes to what makes her grow, it is about saying yes to the dreams she carries, it is about saying yes to the relationships that respect her, it is about saying yes to the boundaries that keep her safe, it is about saying yes to the opportunities that align with her purpose. And every time she chooses to honor herself, she is building a life that reflects her strength instead of her sacrifices, she is building a life that reflects her courage instead of her fear, she is building a life that reflects her authenticity instead of her compliance. And that kind of life is magnetic, it is powerful, it is unstoppable, because no one can take from her what she refuses to give without intention. And when the world sees that a woman honors herself, they begin to treat her differently, they begin to rise to her standards, they begin to respect her boundaries, they begin to see her not as someone they can use but as someone they must honor. And that respect shifts everything, it shifts how she is loved, it shifts how she is valued, it shifts how she is remembered, because the woman who honors herself teaches others how to honor her too. And that is what makes her unstoppable, not the absence of struggle, not the absence of pain, but the presence of unwavering self-respect, because self-respect is the foundation of resilience, it is the foundation of confidence, it is the foundation of love that lasts. And when she carries that foundation, she cannot be broken by rejection, she cannot be destroyed by judgment, she cannot be diminished by comparison, she becomes a force of her own, and that force is what allows her to live fully, to love deeply, to rise endlessly, and to keep becoming more with every choice she makes. When a woman refuses to settle for less than she deserves, she steps into a place of undeniable power, because settling is the enemy of growth, settling is the quiet surrender of dreams, settling is the moment you trade your worth for temporary comfort. And when a woman chooses to rise above that, she is declaring to the world that she will not accept crumbs when she deserves the feast, she will not accept silence when she deserves to be heard, she will not accept half love when she deserves the fullness of devotion. And that declaration transforms her, because it shifts the energy of everything around her. She begins to attract different people, she begins to demand different standards, she begins to build a different kind of life, and every part of her radiates differently, because she is no longer playing small, she is no longer living on the edge of what she wants, she is stepping fully into it. And that choice makes her unstoppable, because people cannot control a woman who knows what she deserves, they cannot manipulate her, they cannot confuse her, they cannot diminish her, because her clarity becomes her shield, her boundaries become her armor, and her self-worth becomes her guide. And that is when her power begins to multiply, it multiplies in her work, it multiplies in her relationships, it multiplies in her presence, because refusing to settle creates a vibration of strength that others cannot ignore. And when people feel that vibration, they respect it, even if they cannot understand it, they admire it, even if they cannot match it, they respond to it, because deep down everyone knows that a woman who refuses to settle is rare, she is valuable, she is powerful, and that power makes her magnetic, because nothing is more attractive than someone who knows exactly what they are worth and demands it without apology. And when a woman does that, she is not just living for herself, she is setting an example for others, she is showing them that you do not have to compromise who you are to be loved, you do not have to shrink yourself to be accepted, you do not have to carry less to make someone else comfortable, you can stand tall, you can claim your worth, you can refuse to settle, and in that refusal you will discover the truth of your own unstoppable power.